Alright, this video is going to show you how to make a power model, and I'm going to go through this one a little more quickly compared to the exponential model. So if you haven't watched the exponential model video, stop this one and go back and watch the exponential model first. So you've got your set of data, and it says find a power model for the data using your calculator and predict the volume when the radius is 8. So turn on your calculator, go to your apps button, and you want to find your stat list editor, which mine is on, and select it. And it's going to, it may or may not, depending on how recently you were in there, prompt you for your folder. So I want to be in my main folder. And then I type in the data. So in list 1, I'll type in the radius. And remember, if you have data in there, if you go on top of the list and press clear enter, it'll wipe everything out. And in list 2, I'm going to type in the volume. And remember, it is storing the entire number in there even though you don't see it. Alright, so there is all my data in my list. And then just like an exponential model, you're going to go to F4 for calculate. So here's F4. Then you go down to regressions and you right arrow. And then power regression is right below exponential regression. It says power reg for power regression. And then it's just like the exponential model. Now you might already have lists stored in there because once you do a regression, those lists will stay in there. So if you want it to still be list 1 and 2, you're set. Just a little tip, if I right arrow to the end of list 1, if I use my backstroke key, if I don't want it to be list 1, I can backstroke and delete that, and I can make it list 5 or whatever if I need to. Of course, I want to keep that as list 1 because that's where my X data was. So I have list 1 for my X data, list 2 for my Y data, and then remember to store your regression equation in so we can use that for predicting. So I chose Y1 again, and then that's all you need to worry about. And then you press enter and give it a second, and it's going to give you that equation. So see if you got what I got. So Y equals A times X to the B. So I'm going to write that down. So Y equals, my A was 4.1889 times X to the B, and B was 2.9999, 4 nines, and an 8. That's basically 3, but it's really not, so I won't round it. So there's my equation. Now it asks you to predict the volume when the radius is 8. So this one would be rather tedious with these long decimals to type in 8, but I mean that's technically what you're going to be doing, is you're going to be putting in 8 for that X, and you could then go to your home screen and you could type that in, okay? Or if you recall from the exponential regression video, you can go to your var link, which is second subtraction, and then arrow down until you find your Y1, because that's where this equation was stored into. And I want to substitute 8 in because that's what I'm predicting, and you have to close that parenthesis, otherwise it'll yell at you that you're missing a parenthesis. And when you press enter, you get 2144.63. And if I had typed this in, by the way, 4.1889 times 8 raised to the 2.99998, notice I get really about the same answer. Had I rounded this instead of 2.99998 maybe to 3, I mean, then it starts changing a little bit. You know, you can see that. So depending on the problem, of course, you know, how drastic you round and whatnot, it can really make a difference in your predictions. So going and doing this, the Y1 and then substituting that X value in, I think is kind of your best bet in terms of predicting. So here's our equation, and here is our volume prediction. Sorry, I should have used V, not Y. Our volume prediction for a radius of 8.